A very warm welcome to you once again to Talk, Share and Inspire. This is a TV show like no other. You see, there are so many things that are happening to young people in the 21st century. We just don't let them happen. We bring them to light, we talk about them, and we find solutions to them. Because as the Bible says in the book of John, that, beloved, I'd love that you may have life, and life in abundance. And that's what we want to do here. We want to have conversations that will drive you to a life that is full of abundance. And I am your host, Erica Okeyo. And today's conversation is centered around work-life balance. So picture this. It's a Monday morning. There you have deadlines, you have so many notifications, you have social media that you need to keep up with, you have your family, you have your friends. There's so much that you need to do. You need to drink your water, you need to exercise, you need to eat right. That is just a whole list of stuff to do. So how do you actually find balance? That is what you want to talk about. At the end of this conversation, we hope to come up with tips and strategies to have a practical work and life balance. And once again, I am joined here with my friend Jess. Jess, karibu sana to
Thank
our
you so
set
much,
today.
Erica.
How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. I'm grateful to be here again.
Yeah, and you look very nice.
Thank you.
Yes,
So do you.
I told you offset and I'm telling you on set. You look immaculate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so yeah, let's go right into, work-life balance. What's your perspective on work-life balance? What is this work-life balance? Is there even balance in the first place?
There should definitely be a balance. Essentially, it's having quite a clear distinction between work activities and personal activities, so that you have enough time to do your work and also enough time to spend with family or do leisure activities that all just form a part of who we are as human beings, and they're just essential for our own growth.
So there should be like a balance.
There should definitely be a balance. Even Christ had it. At moments he's working and healing and preaching, but you see some moments he's stepping away to be with his friends. He's visiting Lazarus and his family, and they're just sitting and dining and having leisurely conversations.
Oh wow, I've never thought about it like that. So he had times to work,
He did.
to heal,
Yes.
to preach, and then he had time to actually visit
He
people.
did step away from work.
All right,
yes.
yeah, because I remember when Lazarus was sick unto death, they went to him and told him, your friend Lazarus.
Yeah.
So if Lazarus was Jesus' friend,
They
it
had
means-
spent a lot of time together
Yeah,
in that home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'd actually never thought about it like that. So Christ had a work-life balance.
He did.
So it's possible to have a work-life balance.
Yeah, and he often told his disciples after a long day of work, come apart and rest a while. It's very important to demarcate work and other activities that also form who we are. Even God himself, he worked a whole week, and then on Sabbath, he's like, okay, I'm taking a rest. So it's quite important. We learn it from our own creator, and that's how we were made.
So do you have a work-life balance, for example? Tell us about your life. Okay, by the how does your day look like?
I think it's quite, I think I have good days and I have bad days. It's something that we should all strive to achieve. And I don't think anyone will say that I have a perfect work-life balance every single day. There are always moments of work where you will be required to actually break that balance. I work in finance, so early in the morning, usually I wake up and look at my notifications or look at my emails and respond to the ones I probably missed or couldn't get to. And then I will now spend my time doing the portion of work for that day. Often it is either building a financial model or getting back to investors or giving reports to the company and doing analysis and again, pulling out from people, asking them to be accountable for either plans or goals that we had set.
Okay, so wait, you have to work, you have to answer notifications, you still have to do your job, and you still have to follow up with people.
I still have to follow up with people, and I happen to be married, so also in the midst of all that, I have to make sure I've prepared meals for the day for my family, and then I also have to have enough time to spend in prayer and in the study of the Word of God.
Oh wow, that's just, when it comes to my situations, there are weeks I feel like I have hacked work-life balance. There are weeks where I manage to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Like the alarm goes off and I am up.
And they're very efficient.
Yes, there are those days I wake up at 5 a.m. I go for my morning walk, and then I come back and take my chia seeds and my lemon.
Wow.
And I pack my 2 liters of water, and I manage to take it through the day. And the previous night I've written my to-do list, so I've blocked out time. I'm able to do that.
The dream life.
Yeah, yes, like there are weeks where I achieve the perfect work-life balance, if that is actually a thing. And when I go to bed, I'm like, well, I actually even manage to go to bed early, because when I wake up at 5, by the time it's 9 p.m, I'm really tired. I need to sleep.
Yeah.
So there are days I hack it, I manage to do it. And then there are weeks where, oh my God, I don't know how the time goes. I feel like I have so many things I need to do, but I don't get to them. So like at some point I was even wondering, like, should there be a balance in the first place, or are we just stressing ourselves? But as you have said, truly there should be a balance. If Jesus, our example, had a balance, who are we not to have a balance? Yeah. And maybe the other thing probably we should talk about, what are some of the challenges that you have personally encountered when you're trying to, achieve a work-life balance?
I think at the very foundation of work-life balance is setting boundaries. I remember when I was starting off my career, I just wanted my boss to see me as the best employee in the company. And if they're thinking of promotions, I should be the first person to be considered. Exactly.
Yes, I get that.
So everything my boss asked for, I said yes to. Even if it meant that I would carry a scanner back at home to go and continue scanning documents. At the beginning, I did that. And I made sure that if I told my boss, yes, I'm going to do it for you tomorrow, I will spend the whole night working on that report so that it is actually done tomorrow. But then at the end of the day, I'm injuring my own health. I was not having enough sleep hours. And I learned setting boundaries from a colleague who joined the company, and they were so bold and confident. And the boss would ask them for something, and they would actually just say, no, I'm not able to do it today. I have to get home. I have this and this that I have to do. And I just realized someone can actually say no. And God himself sets boundaries.
Oh, tell me about that.
He does. He actually says that the ocean will come up to this point and no further. That is a boundary that was set. God actually says, if you sin against me, I will not hear your prayers. This is a boundary he's actually setting.
What?
People look at boundaries and think that, it's actually an evil thing if I tell someone no. God often tells us no. And he says, as my child, I love you, but I am actually saying no to this. This is a boundary line that I am actually setting. And if we learn this principle from God himself, it will actually enable us to thrive in our daily lives, because we are able to say no when activities cannot be done in a particular day, and so that we can actually have time to devote to your family and to devote to leisure. People say, let me just continue working because leisure is not important. Leisure is just as important. To read books, to watch something you wanted to catch up on, to do your knitting that you wanted to learn how to play the piano. Those things are very integral to who we are. So it's important to learn to say no. It wasn't very great in the beginning, but right now I think I am better than I was when I started off my career.
Okay. So one of the challenges you've said one of the challenges you faced for you was setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really trying to think if I struggled with boundaries. I think I also did, like just prioritizing everything. Like you see, there's so much going on. There's your personal life, right? There's your family life, and then there's work. So my problem is I was always prioritizing work. And then you come to realize it's at the expense of something.
True.
If I am prioritizing my work, I am lagging behind in other things. Yeah. So I actually never thought that I struggled with boundaries, but that was probably my challenge, was priorities. Work was always my first priority. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you want to do is to check your email. And I think one of the ways I have, done away with that, number one is I do not have email notifications on my phone. I just put out that notification. So if I want to check my emails, I have to go and
intentionally go to the computer.
Yes,
that's very important.
Yeah, I have to, or if it's my phone, I have to go to the app. It doesn't pop up because you see the way the media is like formulated. The notification is supposed to prompt me to open and check whatever it is that is going on. So I think I didn't know that was a boundary, but yeah, I'm seeing. And then the other thing I remember having a conversation with, there's a place I worked, and the place was so intense. I was in a very intense department. I was in operations. So it was very needful for me to be always with my phone and all that, and it was extremely stressful. So one thing I did, I told my boss, I'm not going to have my work email on my phone and only check my things on my computer. And there's this time we had a very, like, not such a good conversation, a boundary setting conversation. I had to tell them that, you see, when I signed up to this position, I knew for sure I was not coming to work in a hospital.
Yeah.
So nothing is an emergency. So when I actually learned and acknowledged that nothing is an emergency, it was such a game changer, to just know that this thing can be done tomorrow. Nobody is going to die if you don't answer that email.
Yeah, and I think also another aspect maybe from what you've just mentioned that I think I've also learned over time, that when you wake up in the morning and then you have a list of all the things that you need to do that day, and my day is going to close at 6 p.m. so that then after that I'm going to probably start cooking, or I don't know, start doing another activity that you probably have in the evening. Usually when that priority list is not met, and that list is not met, and other things come in during the day, your boss is asking for things that were not in that priority list, or things that are just coming up demanding your time. That's often the times when you find yourself working overtime or pulling into hours that were not required. What I have learned, essentially, I think this is God teaching me over time, is to have a very peaceful heart and accept that not everything that was in my list necessarily has to be done.
Should be ticked out.
It does not have to be ticked out. It can be done the next day, and I need to be at peace with that. And if an interruption comes in and this is what God wants me to focus on, then I will do that work, and I will do it quietly and at peace, and move all the other things that needed to be done to another period of time. And the key for that is communicating. Be as open as you can and just communicate to that person who's waiting for that deliverable. This, I cannot do it today. It will have to wait for a few more days because I have this other thing that is a priority right now.
You know what? You're already going to the strategies.
Yeah.
So hold that thought. Hold that thought for a hot minute. So before we actually go to the strategies and everything, we've discussed our challenges. Our challenges was prioritizing. Yes. And dear viewer, I don't know where you're watching this conversation from. If you're on YouTube, make sure you actually share with your friend and leave your comment as well. Tell us, how has your experience with work-life balance been, And so maybe let's talk about how important is it actually to maintain a work-life balance? Is it really important?
I think it definitely is. The mind of man, the way it was created, it's wholesome. There are social components in our brain. There are developmental components for our intellect in our brain. There's the emotional well-being. All these things need to come together very well for you to be a healthy human being.
So it is not fashionable to say that I'm a workaholic?
It's actually not. You end up, I forget the Bible verse, but there's a verse where it says, have you seen someone who is in haste? That person is actually not a wise person. This person who is always having so many things to handle, things always running around, always busy, always can never be found.
Full desk, your desk is full, there's so much, your kitchen is clamped up, there's just a lot going on. Yeah,
and you're just always busy. It actually shows, one, poor planning. It shows also you are not a person who respects yourself to set boundaries very well. It does not show, I think there's someone who said that some of us look like that we were born 10 minutes late and we've been working for the rest of our lives to recover those 10 minutes. You are always rushing up and down and putting all the activities in your plate. It actually shows those are symptoms of a very unhealthy person who does not respect themselves and know that this is what I can do and this is what I cannot do.
What about, I'm thinking about that, then I'm thinking of this verse that says, work for the night is coming. Someone can actually take that verse of work for the night is coming when man worketh no more. And you're like, you know what? Now that it is day, I have to do all that. But you've also said that if you make haste, what happens?
If you see someone who is in haste, it actually shows that they're actually a lazy person. They didn't plan well.
Wow.
They didn't plan well. I forget the Bible verses. It's in the book of Proverbs. You know, and there are people who actually say that I will rest when I die.
What?
You will
Yes, yes, I've heard that by the way.
Yes, we will not rest when we die. Rest is for the living. Rest is for the living. We are supposed to rest today. And God has given us sufficient time to not only work and contribute in the environments where we are, but to contribute in our families. We can be amazing human beings with our friends. We can be amazing human beings with other activities. And it is so sad that you live in 60 years, you would have done so many things, but we end up doing very little because we only focused on one thing that consumed our whole lives. We were not created to have only one thing consuming our entire life.
Yeah, and not work actually, right? Because I think the reason why we're actually talking about work-life balance, you see, when we were younger, for example, when we were at the university, work-life balance was not a thing.
Yeah.
We used to actually find time for other leisure things.
Exactly.
Right? So it's very important because work has a way of like really, really consuming you. Because I know if I don't work, I'm not going to eat. You know, I will not have money. I will not have money for my daily bread. But you're also learning that there is nothing fashionable about being saying you're a workaholic, yes. And you are learning if you have too much going on, it's actually a symptom that you are a poor planner. But no, you know, we can't leave us. We can't go without. We have to be hopeful. So let's talk about the strategies. What are some of the strategies and tips that you have incorporated in your life to have a work-life balance?
This one I definitely struggled with to date, but I've become better again than I was.
We get better by the day.
Better by the day. Communicate. Share. Say, I am struggling here. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. Say that it can only be done in 2 weeks to come, in 3 weeks to come.
Okay.
It's actually one of the ways where you can actually also progress very fast in your career when they know that the timelines you have set are timelines that you can do and you are a very healthy person. If you set these boundaries around you, you will even be actually a healthier person to even deliver more and contribute more. People who are always sleeping at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., eventually over time they are not even as healthy. So communicate as much as you can. Say, I cannot do this. Then love to say no. I'm not saying learn, I'm saying love.
Wow.
Love to
What's
say
the difference
no.
between loving and learning?
Because one takes a lot of courage, the other one does not take a lot of courage. Anyone can say yes to anything, but not eventually do it. But then when you train yourself to saying no, and then you love the idea of saying no, it means that you bring the control to yourself and you're able to control your life and manage it for yourself, not people managing you. Otherwise, you just become a bond servant. No one wants to be a bond servant. A bond servant is one who says yes to everything does everything that has been put on their plate, regardless of what it is. But when you love saying no, you tell yourself that I am the boss of my life and I'm the manager of my time. Therefore, my boss will not necessarily be controlling me, but I will guide them so that they am able to deliver within the boundaries that I can.
Wow. You know why I really love that? I personally have struggled with saying no. I used to think saying no was such a bad thing. Like, how do I say I can't do that? You know, I'm like, I read the job description. You see that part, the last part, I don't know if you've met it in a JD that says, and any other task assigned to you by the manager. And I'm like, this is that task. So saying no is something that I really, really struggle with. I think I've also, learned. For example, I am a consultant. So there are times I get so many jobs. Like there's this week, this person is asking for, this one wants you to help them with a certain research. This one wants you to, formulate a training for them. And at some point, I used to think the good thing to do is just to have all those things, But I learned it's actually a good thing to say no. I'd rather say no than take it on and under-deliver.
True, exactly. And people will respect you for it. When you go to order food on a buffet, you don't go picking everything that is laid there on the table.
Rice, potatoes, chapati.
Exactly, and your plate is so full. You go to a buffet and you pick just a few things, and that is the same thing with work. We have to be temperate. We have to be temperate and actually pick that which we can consume, and that which we cannot consume, we should be at peace saying no to it.
Okay. So one of the strategy is, number one, love to say
No.
Love to say no. And then the other thing that you mentioned is setting boundaries.
And then set boundaries.
Set,
yes.
Guys, don't just like to say no. Love. You know, when you love something, you're actually really committed to it. I am actually really learning a lot from this. So picture someone who is at work today and they are struggling. What should you tell them?
Struggling to get off work, I would say, first of all, I would say, when we talk about work-life balance, we are not saying that every day will be like that. There are days that there are deadlines that have to be met. There are days when Christ had to work the whole night. And then, you know.
There's that time that he was from healing.
Yes.
And then they went
somewhere else and they continued with mission work as though he didn't even pause, and then spent the whole night in prayer.
And then they actually got there. Is it the same time that they got there and then he met the demonic?
Yeah, afterward, when he had healed everyone in that location. Christ, there are moments when our time is demanded, and that is fine. We are not saying that it is every day it will be perfect, but there are those moments. But those moments cannot be every day. When it is every day, then it is a problem. I would say the best thing for you to enjoy those moments is for you to have take up a job that you will actually enjoy, so that even in those moments, when those moments come, you love writing that analysis anyway. So that even if you're doing it the whole night, anyway. Exactly, you will still be able to enjoy it, which is very good for your brain. But if you're doing a job that you don't like, you don't enjoy, when the boss demands more of your time, you will actually start resenting that work, and you'll start resenting and showing up to work in a way that it is not effective. Then two, I think one thing that I've learned is to do, I've put a habit tracker on my phone.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that goes off, I've put for this year is do one courageous thing every day.
Oh, okay.
So one courageous thing.
Like?
So one courageous thing is those things that scare you. What scares you? Saying no to your boss. What scares you? Telling your boss this report will come late. What scares you? It is probably telling your boss that this work cannot be achieved without further investment in this area or in that area. Do one thing that is courageous every day. Why God calls us to be courageous and to go forth to conquer any territory he has placed within us. Why? Because he's going to be with us. But most of us are so fearful to do courageous things, to tell our bosses no, to say I cannot do this report, or maybe even to try new things that scare them. I think endeavor to do courageous things, especially in setting boundaries. It is one courageous thing. So if you're struggling today, take time apart and pray about it. Tell God, this is the portion that I have, and I need to lose some of these opportunities, and give me the courage to be able to go to the people who demand of me of these things and actually communicate that I cannot do them.
Okay. I think one thing that I'd say a pivotal moment for me to prioritize work, think that work-life balance is actually important. I remember one point I was working in HR. I was a HR assistant. And I was living very far from my place of work. So it would take me a lot of time to get there, including traffic and all that. And so I used to have pressure, like work time I was those people that if they say people should arrive at 8, they knew what they were doing when they said 8. So I'm like, I have to get there at 8. So anytime I couldn't make it at 8, I used to feel so terrible. And I'd go to my phone and text my boss and be like, hi, I'm sorry, I'll not make it at 8. Like I was always doing that. So one day I got to the office and she was like, you know what, madam, calm down. It's very okay for you
It's not that serious.
Yeah, it's not that serious. I mean, you can be late, but that was not the thing. This is what she told me. She told me, if you die today, we put an advert tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very sad.
She actually told me, if you ever get an emergency, a family emergency or a friend or somebody needs help, go and help them. This company, we don't care about you that much. like, well, she didn't say it like that, but
Yeah, but
that's the
the
message that
essence,
came
yeah.
out, you know. So that's when I learned that truly it goes without saying that a big chunk of our life we'll spend it working, but that's not what all, like, life is not all about that. So that's when I actually learned to prioritize other things, to take care of myself, to catch up with my family and my friends. If you call me today and you know, somebody calls me, I don't know if somebody calls me right now on set, but if my mother calls me or my husband calls me right now and they need help, we might have to take a pause here, because we can always come back and do this,
Yeah.
but we will not always be able to go and meet their emergencies. Yeah, so,
You know, the Bible says, Matthew 6:34, I think, that sufficient to the day is the evil thereof. Just work on that which is there for that day. Even if it is an interruption, that is what God has put up as a portion in your plate. Just work on that one, focus on that one. Every other thing can be moved away. It can always be moved away. As you said, we will die at some point. So work with what God has apportioned you for that day, and stop worrying about, oh, there's work for tomorrow, there's work for next week. When tomorrow comes, we will handle it tomorrow, so we can move it to tomorrow, and that is fine.
awesome. What did you get from this session? One thing that I came out with is rest is for the living. We will not rest when we die. We need to rest right now. So there is nothing wrong with creating boundaries. There is totally nothing wrong with saying no. So, my dear viewer, you know, when you find a good thing, you don't keep it to yourself. You have to share it with other people. Remember to share this link if you're watching us on YouTube, and the social media handles that are displayed on the screen below, so that, you know, we can all, you know, be inspired. Just, I don't know if you have a parting shot before we close up for this session.
Enter into the rest that God is willing to give to each person. Just find rest in Him, and commit to Him the burdens of work that you have, and He'll help you navigate them.
Awesome. Right. Thank you so much, Jess, for coming to talk, to share, and to
inspire.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
guys.
much.
See you once again in our next session. Bye-bye.